Hello and welcome to The Big Picture. As the new government headed by BJP under Narendra Modi is about to be formed at the centre, discussions have been rife about various expectations and challenges the government will face. While the decisive nature of the mandate will give the new government an extraordinary leverage in dealing with these expectations and challenges, which no other government in the last 30 years has had, it also imposes a huge responsibility. As the mandate is analysed and deciphered, there are issues which the new government will have to take note of, both on the social front and the economic front. Not to talk about the security aspect, there will be many expectations and challenges which will need attention. We will discuss what these expectations and challenges are and what we can expect from the new government on it. To discuss this, I have with me Professor Pushpesh Pant, political analyst and former professor at the JNU, Sheila Bhatt, editorial director news at Rediff.com, Professor Surinder Singh Jodhka, sociologist and professor at the Center for the Social Systems, JNU, and Smita Gupta, associate editor, The Hindu. Welcome to all of you. Sheila, first to you. What is the biggest challenge after Modi takes charge? What are those expectations which he will have to face with? First, what are the challenges?
Economy. I would say that if he takes enough decisions, bold decisions, which can impact control inflation, at the same time take the growth in the range of 6 to 7% after a year, I think he can meet the expectations of the people. Because I think economy will help him in diplomacy and economy will help him in handling this fear of social situation, both. Because once there are more jobs in the market, I think a lot of things will fall in place.
Professor Pant, you think the social, there is still a social, there is some kind of
I tend to agree with Sheila because I think what she is saying is that the decisive mandate given seems to nullify the so-called secular versus communal, democratic versus fascist debate to rest, at least temporarily. So, if he succeeds on the economic front in the foreseeable future...
as far as the economic front is concerned, that will take some time for the results to start showing.
Girish bhai, the problem is that we are talking of the challenges which Modi faces.
Yes.
I think the greatest challenge is faced by the electorate and the Indian people themselves. Are they willing to give him the reasonable time? They gave Manmohan Singh and the UPA 10 years.
That is interesting.
Can they give 10 months to this man? I mean, if they can give it to 10 months, then they can pillory him. Then they can hold him responsible for whatever is right or wrong. But till that time, after this kind of a decisive mandate, I think the other challenge which is there is that he will also have to take immediate steps to reassure the minorities who seem to have been silenced in this election. Not a single Muslim in the list of winning candidates from
the BJP.
And even otherwise, because the Congress is not in double digits anywhere else. So if you count out the family in UP, there is no Congress MP, Muslim MP or either.
Exactly.
You can't count either Sonia Gandhi or Rahul as a minority. No.
Right. Professor Jodhka? Professor Pushpesh Pant has put it in very interestingly. He says the challenge is actually before the government, before the people of this country, whether they'll give Modi the time to wait, for him to perform. How?
They have already given him mandate and time. I mean, that is not an issue. So he has 5 years, full 5 years, without having to depend on support from anyone else.
Right. But
yes, there is nothing like this we have seen before. That's something. Yeah, so we need to kind of, I mean, there's something, we can't really predict anything at this moment. I mean, obviously there is a lot of hope, there is a lot of aspiration, there's a lot of kind of uncertainty.
This uncertainty, which we're talking about, which Professor Pant also mentioned, 282 MPs of the BJP, not a single from the minority. Is that something going to be an opportunity for him to, for the BJP government and especially the Prime Minister?
Can I just interrupt you for a moment? When you talk of minority, let's not talk of only the Muslim minority.
No, I'm talking to the entire minority.
But there is a Sikh. There is a Sikh. Surinder Singh Ahluwalia is the
There is one Sikh and there is one Sikh and in the entire NDA there is one Muslim probably. Or somebody from LJP from Bihar. With this kind of very little representation of the minority in the entire NDA, do you think that this would be an opportunity for him to erase some of the issues which he faces?
This is not simply a political question. I think this is much bigger point than simply confining it to religious minorities.
Right.
I think in India we have different kinds of margins and variety of diversities. I mean, when you talk about Muslim, we are not only talking about UP Muslims, we are not talking only about one religious groups. These are different communities, there are diversities within religious communities. I think this whole discourse needs to be reframed. The majority, minority, and the moment we talk about minority, we think of Muslims as a large mass.
Right.
I think that itself is a problematic thing. And I think this is a moment when we need to reframe this question. And yes, the Indian society is very diverse. There are many marginal groups of different kinds. And that is not something that anybody can ignore. I mean, it's not simply a question of choice. Whatever might be your political position, right or left, these are realities that you have to engage with. If you don't, I mean, this is like more than half of India's population sits on the margins of Indian society. I mean, BJP has got like 30+% votes. But if you want to talk about India, then you have to use a very different language. And I think this framing of the question itself is wrong. I mean, to identify Muslim minority as a category to be kind of addressed specially or separately, that itself creates problems.
So how would you frame the problem which we face now then?
See, inclusiveness is one word that can kind of, so one has to think of India in a very different language. I think this is a moment that when one can perhaps start thinking about that. Muslims don't like being listed as a religious minority, as minority of India. Nobody wants to be a minority. Nobody wants to be targeted as a separate group. So some people want to participate in this, rising India, emerging India, the project called India. They want to be part of the Indian imagination. So I think that is the challenge. Anybody who becomes Prime Minister, that is something which kind of is a responsibility of that party or political person. This is a very different kind of thing. India has never seen anything like this before.
Right.
Even Congress party never had this kind of mandate to itself. It had kind of all the diversities with it, inside it. So
right.
I think this is something which we'll have to wait and watch in what direction Mr. Modi or the party or the NDA kind of takes, and we'll have to kind of look at it very critically, minutely, without any kind of prejudgment.
Without prejudgment, Smita, without prejudgment, is that possible in this kind of an atmosphere that this election, this campaign was one of the most divisive election campaigns we have seen. There were a lot of issues which were raised in the thing. The personality of Modi himself had created that kind of a situation, though he tried very hard not to be divisive. But do you think that is possible in this present environment?
Well, I think it would be unproductive if Mr. Modi is not given an opportunity to perform. Having said that, I'd like to say that it's not just a question of minorities. We have to see whether Mr. Modi's, the way he governed in Gujarat, where, for instance, he had about 8 or 10 portfolios. He kept them to himself. Is he going to do the same kind of thing?
In Gujarat?
Gujarat, as Chief Minister. He did not allow the assembly to function much there. I mean, it's a matter of record.
Right.
He was a bit intolerant of dissent. Now, he will not be able to, I think, do that as Prime Minister of the country if he's got to carry along people. I'm sure Mr. Modi is a very intelligent person, and having achieved the acme of his ambitions, I'm sure that these are things, these will be challenges before him.
Right.
But at the same time, I agree with everybody here that yes, he's been given a 5-year mandate. I don't think it's wise or makes sense for people to leap on him instantly, but judge him by his actions now.
Right. Sheila, when we talk of some of the points which she has raised, you think that he will have to reinvent himself from what he has been so far?
Girish, Indian media has largely failed in understanding Narendra Modi. At least now we should accept that. The way we have covered this election was pathetic. We have never understood this kind of mandate. I have not seen at least 10 articles. I have not seen. I have seen 1 or 2, 3 things, but not 10 columns in entire Indian media saying what has happened on 16th May evening, right? So I don't think we understand what is Modi's politics all about now. We understood Gujarat well and we criticized him well, which was good. But now I don't think what are his plan, we have not understood. And I would like to think that he has proven very smart and intelligent. The way he has got this mandate, the way he was thinking and the way he promised, I mean the way he planned. So I would like to say,
it has worked.
I would
His
like to
plan
say
has
that
worked
it
to
is
the
our
T.
duty as a media to criticize him, to be very alert, to wait and watch. But I would think that there will be this surprise came on 16th May, largely surprise, though we knew that he is winning and all that, but
nobody
the
expected
quality
this
and the
kind
quantity of the mandate, there was not so much in the
Absolutely.
press. So now I think if we understand this much that Delhi is not Gandhinagar, I am sure he understands it. So I am sure he also knows that he can't treat Parliament the way he was handling Assembly. I think he is much more than intelligent than they are. So I am sure there will be some few surprises in store for us, not just for media, for the people. And I'm just, the challenging thing is to know that what is his. And in that I think that again and again, I think that my reading is that he will be focused on Indian economy.
Focused on Indian economy. But what about this whole thing about, as what Professor Pant also pointed out earlier, 282 members, no members in the minority.
These are big issues.
My question is this. We are used, this country has been used, every government when it is formed, there is always this proportional representation, or at least some sort of proportional representation is something which is always talked about and is expected also.
But that is not Narendra Modi's alone doing, no? He is partly responsible in the sense that Bharatiya Janata Party should give enough tickets to minority. That I agree, and that is but what has happened finally is not a problem of Narendra Modi alone, it's our collective problem. I feel on that issue that right now if jobs comes in the market, the pressure, social and all kinds of pressure will be less, and then we will watch. And my own judgment is after some 18 months or so, these issues which are all the feeling of isolation for minorities or because of this kind of a result and other issues will crop up little later.
Professor Pant, despite what Professor Jutka was saying, the isolation is real. We have seen today a column written by none other than a person like Gopal Krishna Gandhi, who talks about these factors, and these are issues which are not something which cannot be something which can be brushed under the carpet.
I have the highest respect for Gopal Bhai,
yes,
but I would be reluctant to accept that as gospel truth either.
No, it's not a question of truth or not. There is no truth in these kind of issues.
But allow me to finish.
Yes.
I am in total agreement with what Professor Jotka says. I think the time has come for India to move away from tokenism and move away from double standards. Let me tell you one thing.
No. Yes.
We are worried in this discussion that Modi has, Smita rightly pointed out, did not allow assembly to function in a particular manner.
Right.
We probably correct. He can't afford to do that when he comes to Delhi as a parliament.
Right.
But the problem is that how easily we forget that when Rajiv Gandhi came to power after Mrs. Gandhi's death with 415 plus MPs, did he allow parliament to function? And the shouting brigade made Shankar Dayal Sharma weep in the parliament. We have very selective memory and
it's quite different.
No, that's it.
The MLAs were not even allowed inside the house.
MP.
I'm talking about Gujarat Assembly.
Fair enough.
No. Professor Pant, by comparing something in the past to this, we are not heading anywhere. I am asking you because...
So if we are not comparing the past,
we are not,
why don't we start from a scratch and say
exactly
that there has been in past a tokenism of giving proportional quote-unquote representation
so you think that is
to family retainers and
right,
subservient sycophants from minorities to have illustrative examples. I think it would be falling into a very sad trap when we
so
have
this proportional representation business is something which we can do away with at this point of time?
Especially focusing only on one particular minority, which is the majority of the minorities in this country.
Professor Jotka, has time come in this country now in the manner in which we have seen this mandate, the manner of the mandate, the size of the mandate, and all that this whole proportional representation, which has been the leitmotif of Indian governments, and not just governments, even at the stage of candidate selection, proportional representation is a major thing which is always discussed. So you think that time has come when we can have a relook at this whole issue of proportional representation?
See, symbols and representation is very critical part of democracy. Given that country like India is so diverse, we have to recognize those diversities and somehow, present a picture which is inclusive of those diversities. We can't just have a kind of, particular image of India and move ahead. Having said that, the kind of symbolism we have had in the past is also very elitistic.
Absolutely.
Which produces a kind of elite from within the minority, and the minority stays where they are. So I think what we need to kind of present picture is, people are looking, people are watching, people are expecting something. They are apprehensive, but at the same time, I don't think they are prejudged. They see, this is not something that people can not understand. We'll see what is happening in 6 months' time, in 3 months' time. If there's a particular kind of symbolism projected, it would have a particular kind of consequence. If the symbolism is inclusive, if everybody is included, people don't specifically want, mere tokenism. They want reality to kind of move in a particular direction. To have tokenism and not really actually deliver anything doesn't really make any sense.
So actually, what you are trying to say is that we are at a stage where some rediscovering needs to happen. There needs to be certain innovations in the way let us say first when the cabinet is formed. When the first cabinet is formed, do you think that some kind of innovation will happen and should happen?
See, for example, we have seen, again, one can talk about Gujarat model. If we have to have Gujarat kind of situation where Muslims, even when there are no communal riots, but find no say in the way country or the state is run, I think that is something that people in Gujarat know. India cannot be run like that, as has been pointed out earlier also. India is a diverse country. It's not only a question of Muslims. It's a question of Dalits. It's a question of other kind of, OBC communities, diversities. And BJP is aware of it. It's not like it's not aware of it. There are other diversities which is willing to include. But these are also important issues. But Muslims are not one single category. The way they have been reified into one category, I think that's very, very problematic. There is caste question within the Muslim community. There are other diversities, regional diversities, linguistic diversities, and all kinds of aspirations. And now you also have class and age factor. Young Muslims are aspirant. They are aspirant like any other person in India. So their ambitions, their dreams are very different from the way the older elite Muslim has thought about the identity question. So we need to engage with that question as a society. As a government, obviously you can't ignore these questions.
Okay. Smita, another thing which is being said, which, this column by Gopal Krishna Gandhi talks about it, others also have written it. The way in which the BJP and its, the family which is there, the way it has reacted to the mandate and things like that, there is no doubt that it is much excited, and there is every reason for them to get excited. Is there a challenge there for the BJP, not just Narendra Modi, for the BJP also, to control this triumphalism which we have been witnessing? Is that one of the, do you think that is one of the challenges? I want all of you to also respond to that.
I think it is a serious challenge because we have seen, I think there was a news report from Karnataka about some mosque being attacked over there. So I think it is a serious challenge because if we look back at the Vajpayee years, it is true that all these organizations that come under the RSS rubric did grow. And it is but natural that these organizations...
I don't think anybody should have a problem about these organizations growing.
Yeah, but it also, it's not just a question of growing, but influencing, and some of them, like the Bajrang Dal, etc., they do, believe in violence.
Professor Pant?
No, I think you have put it very well. I think the greatest challenge at the moment for Indian democracy, not only for Narendra Modi and BJP, it is the triumphalism. As people who have been in their own minds deprived of power legitimately because of appeasement of certain minorities by the earlier regime, they suddenly might realize that they have got only this shining moment to do whatever they want.
Exactly.
And to control the lunatic fringe of the supporters who were useful so far, but the stormtroopers should be nipped in the bud right now. And that's what the challenge is for the rest of the country as well. Because Narendra Bhai Modi has been taking great pride that ever since 2002, there has been no communal riot in Gujarat. Can he assure and ensure that there will be no riots anywhere in India in the next 5 years or next 1 year? That's
Sheila?
the challenge.
Is this something which bothers them? Is this something which should be bothering them? How to control these groups?
No, I don't think so. I think differently. I think the bigger issue is this. You know what happened today in Jammu and Kashmir and Pakistan border, and how two journalists
Yes, there's already been some infiltration.
have been asked to vacate leave Islamabad. I think in view of very serious issues in South Asia, and in view of what Modi's baggage of 2002 riots and all this is, I think the parent organization RSS understands this kind of issues, that even if they try to play mischief, which we suspect they are capable of, but I think the bigger issue and the bigger challenge is so enormous that I think VHP and Bajrang Dal will be dealt with very smartly by Narendra Modi. But all these issues which we fear of, I think I am again and again saying that it will come up little later, 18 months. I give 18 months or so to this government to do. But I am not saying that DNA can change overnight. So, Mutaliks of the world can be in our society and will remain. But I am feeling that RSS is much more matured in this response. They have a patience also for their own aims, as we have seen.
You think that Sheila is giving hopes about...
She's making a very interesting point. I mean, a little while earlier, Smita made a very interesting point that Modi has reached the acme of his ambitions.
Right.
But is that the acme of his ambitions? Or is the acme of his ambitions is to leave an imprint and cast India in a mold which RSS probably has in mind? And that's where I think what Shobha is saying makes eminent sense. Oh, I'm so sorry. What Sheila says makes eminent sense to me, because RSS might not like to blow up this chance by recklessness.
And also,
you might as well have patience.
What Smita says, in that just little nuances I would like to add, that what we all fear and what irritates us largely, particularly in urban modern India. Right now, Narendra Modi will perform from position of strength. That's a huge difference.
That's a huge thing. That's
huge
actually,
difference.
That's what I said in the beginning also, that, there is this huge opportunity, this huge leverage which he has, which no other government in the last 30 years had.
No, but I just want to introduce a note of caution in all this. It is true that if you look at Gujarat, Mr. Modi eventually was able to control the VHP totally.
Sorry, one thing. See, for quite some time to come, he will be seen from the prism of Gujarat. But that is something which is unavoidable.
I was making a different point.
Yes.
What I was saying is that he operated from a position of strength in Gujarat, and he was able to control all the RSS organizations. He had marginalized them in Gujarat by the end. I'm sure Sheila will agree with that. But in India, the RSS has worked, like a machine this time. Many of them told me we haven't worked like this since 1977. So many of these organizations will be expecting. Perhaps, yes, the RSS, I agree, is a very mature and smart organization and will not try to upset the boat immediately. But will it be able to control everybody at the bottom?
Bottom. Professor Jotka, you think that is one of the biggest challenges which Modi as well as the BJP will face?
I think this is a whole question of visualization. I think if they think that it is BJP voter who has voted for Modi, they are mistaken. This time they have been able to get so many seats because there is a larger acceptance.
Absolutely.
There is a larger constituency which has identified with a possibility of change which they are expecting through Modi or through BJP.
Right.
And I think this is not simply the old right-wing Hindu upper caste kind of constituency that has voted for them.
Right.
I think they need to also recognize this fact, and they'll have to respond to this constituency. If they don't do it, they'll become unpopular very soon. And I think this is something which is challenge for everyone. We also need to kind of understand, recognize that there is something which has happened which nobody could have predicted.
Right.
But for them also it's a big challenge to recognize the fact that this is not the old India that they're dealing with. This is not their old constituencies. This is not their old regions. So if they work in the old fashion through Bajrang Dals and through the old kind of RSS politics, that would create all kinds of mess. I mean, this country needs to be governed. And if you have to govern it, you have to take everyone along. And how do you take everyone along? By recognizing the realities of present day India. This is not the same India of 1952 when Jansangh was formed, or even the 1977 India. This is a very, very different kind of country.
Okay.
In 2014, we have a different generation, different aspiration, different realities.
Okay, I think that very well put. Professor Pant, very quick last words to you. Would you agree with what Jyotika is saying? And you think this is the biggest challenge which not just the party, not just the individual, but the entire Parivar faces?
No, I would agree, because we keep talking of the Sangha Parivar, but in the Sangha Parivar, the Kartas belong to an age and the children belong to a generation where the Karta might not exercise the same parental control.
Okay, I think on that note,
next time you have a program, who is real Modi?
Okay.
Then
we will get to know as we go along. We will get to know who is real Modi and what he will be doing. We will have enough time to see how he will go about doing all these things. Thanks to all my guests, Professor S.S. Jodhka, Sheila Bhatt, Professor Pushpesh Pant and Smita Gupta. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue on The Big Picture same time tomorrow.